The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy that flows through stars, planets, and the void between them. But what happens when something from beyond the stars arrives? Something that burns with a different kind of power entirely. A power that doesn't bow to the Force, doesn't recognize its ancient rules, and exists by laws written in a universe impossibly far away. The twin suns of Tatooine beat down mercilessly on the Dune Sea, baking the sand into waves of shimmering heat. Jawas scurried across the wastes in their sand crawlers, searching for salvage. Moisture farmers checked their vaporators. Tusken raiders watched the horizon from rocky outcroppings. It was a day like any other on this forgotten desert world at the edge of the Outer Rim, until the sky tore open. The phenomenon began as a distortion, a ripple in space itself that made the stars flicker and dance. Then came the sound, a thunderous crack that rolled across the desert like the roar of 1,000 banthas. Every living thing within 50 kilometers looked up to see a streak of golden light plummeting through Tatooine's atmosphere, trailing fire and impossible energy. It wasn't a ship. No engine screamed. No repulsor lifts engaged. Just pure burning force descending like a falling star. The impact crater measured 30 meters across and nearly 10 deep. Sand had fused into glass at the point of contact. Heat radiated in waves that distorted the air. And at the center, pushing himself up from the scorched ground, was a man who should not exist. Goku stood slowly, shaking his head to clear the disorientation. His orange gi was torn and singed, his black hair wild and standing at odd angles. He reached out with his ki senses, searching for familiar energy signatures. Vegeta's fierce battle aura, Piccolo's focused intensity, even Krillin's steady presence. Nothing. The energy here felt different. Alive, yes, but flowing in patterns he'd never encountered before. It was everywhere and nowhere at once, like breathing in reverse. Not wrong exactly, just fundamentally other. "Okay, Goku, think," he said to himself, floating a few inches off the ground experimentally. His ki responded, but it felt like pushing through water instead of air. Heavier, more resistant. "Okay, you were trying to get to Beerus's planet, there was that weird purple rift, and then... Yeah, I definitely messed up." A distant sound caught his attention. Engines, mechanical and growling. Goku turned to see strange vehicles approaching across the sand, hovering on cushions of energy. They were boxy and crude-looking compared to Capsule Corp technology, painted in faded desert colors. The beings riding them weren't human. Short, robed figures with glowing eyes peering from beneath brown hoods.
The Jawas had spotted the crash and smelled profit. Salvage this valuable didn't fall from the sky every day. But as they drew closer and saw Goku standing in the crater's center, very much alive and apparently unharmed, their enthusiasm faltered. Their sensors couldn't read him. No cybernetics, no recognizable technology, just biological readings that spiked off their instrument scales. "Hey there!" Goku called out, waving cheerfully. "Sorry about the mess. I'm kinda lost. Can you tell me what planet this is?" The Jawas exchanged rapid-fire chatter in their incomprehensible language, their glowing eyes widening. One of them raised what looked like a weapon, a crude ionization blaster, and fired a warning shot into the sand near Goku's feet. Goku looked down at the smoking patch of fused glass, then back up at the Jawas. His expression shifted from friendly confusion to something more serious. "Okay, so you're not friendly. Got it." I raised my hands, peacefully. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I just need to figure out where I am and how to get..." 3 more blasters leveled at him. The Jawas were chattering frantically now, clearly debating whether to flee or try to subdue this strange being. Goku sighed. This wasn't how he'd hoped first contact would go. Then, new sounds cut through the desert air. Sharper, more powerful engines. Goku looked up to see a different kind of craft approaching. Sleek white speeders with Imperial markings, carrying armored figures that even he could tell meant business. Stormtroopers, 8 of them, accompanied by an officer in a gray uniform and black cap. The stormtroopers moved with military precision, forming a perimeter around the crater with weapons raised, more sophisticated than the Jawas' gear, but still recognizably guns of some kind. Unidentified life form, the officer barked, his voice amplified through a comlink. You are in violation of Imperial airspace protocols. Identify yourself immediately, or be fired upon.
Goku tilted his head. Imperial? Is that like a government? He floated up out of the crater, rising to stand on the sand at ground level. The stormtroopers' weapons tracked his movement, and he heard several nervous clicks as safeties disengaged. I'm Son Goku. I'm from Earth. Well, not this Earth, I guess, since you don't seem to know what that is. I got here by accident. Is there someone I can talk to about getting home? The officer's face had gone pale. It's flying, without propulsion. Get a reading on that energy signature. One of the troopers consulted a handheld scanner, then looked up in confusion. Sir, the readings don't make sense. It's like he's generating power equivalent to a small fusion reactor, but it's biological, and the signature doesn't match anything in the database. It's not force-based, not conventional technology. I don't know what it is. Force-based? What's the Force? The officer's hand moved to his sidearm. This was beyond his training, beyond his understanding. Protocol dictated one response to unknown threats this powerful. Trooper TX-728, relay to command. Unknown entity with unprecedented power readings, requesting immediate Star Destroyer support and possible Inquisitor. He never finished the sentence. Goku moved, and in that moment, the Empire got its first glimpse of what Saiyan speed meant. One instant, he was standing 20 meters away. The next, he was in front of the officer, gently removing the comlink from his hand with a sad smile. Sorry, but I can't let you call for backup if they're just gonna shoot at me. I really don't want to fight you guys. I'm one of the good guys where I come from. He looked at the comlink, pressed a few buttons experimentally, then crushed it casually in his palm. The metal crumpled like paper. 8 blasters opened fire simultaneously. Crimson energy bolts lanced through the air where Goku had been standing, but he was already gone, moving between the troopers faster than their targeting systems could track. He didn't hurt them, just tapped each one on the shoulder hard enough to short out their armor systems and send them tumbling unconscious into the sand. The officer stumbled backward, reaching for his blaster with trembling hands. Goku appeared in front of him again, and this time, the Saiyan's expression was more serious. Look, I get that you're scared, but I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want to understand what's going on and find a way home. Can you help me with that? What are you? The officer whispered. I'm a Saiyan. We're a warrior race, but I was raised on Earth, and I fight to protect people, not hurt them. So please, just tell me, what is this place? What's the Empire? And what's this Force thing you mentioned? Before the officer could answer, a new sound cut through the air, a deeper, more ominous thrumming. Goku looked up to see a massive ship descending through the atmosphere, a wedge-shaped vessel painted in Imperial gray that blocked out one of the suns. Smaller fighters screamed past it, TIE fighters with their distinctive twin-engine wail. The officer's fear transformed into something like vindictive satisfaction. You wanted to know about the Empire? He laughed shakily. That's an Imperial Star Destroyer. You've been detected as a threat to Imperial security. There's nowhere in this galaxy you can hide now.
Goku watched the massive ship approach, felt the power of its engines and weapons, sensed the thousands of life forces aboard. His ki perception was still adjusting to this strange new universe, but he could feel their intent, cold, militaristic, and absolutely certain of their authority. He thought about Frieza, about the tyrants he'd faced before, about armies that served evil masters and caused suffering across worlds. A knot of familiar determination settled in his stomach. "I don't want to hide," Goku said quietly, his eyes never leaving the Star Destroyer. "But I need to understand what's really going on here before I decide what to do." He turned back to the officer, and his expression was earnest, almost pleading. "Is the Empire good? Do they protect people? Or are they more like the bad guys I thought before?" The officer opened his mouth, then closed it. How could he explain the Empire to this impossibly powerful being? How could he justify the fear, the oppression, the iron fist of Imperial rule? In the end, he said nothing. Goku saw the answer in his silence. His shoulders sagged slightly, and he let out a long breath. "Yeah, that's what I thought." The Star Destroyer's hangar bays opened, and dozens of TIE fighters poured out like angry insects. Goku could feel their weapons powering up, targeting systems locking onto his energy signature. He rose into the air, ki flaring around him in a golden aura that made the air shimmer and the sand beneath him dance. "I don't want to fight you," he called out as his voice carried across the desert, "but I won't let you hurt anyone, and I won't let you lock me up. If there are people in this galaxy who need help, who are suffering under tyrants, then maybe I landed here for a reason." On the bridge of the Star Destroyer Devastator, Captain Davian Erse watched his tactical displays with growing unease. What in the Emperor's name is that energy reading? It just spiked another 300%. His sensor officer looked up, face pale. "Sir, if these readings are accurate, that single organism is generating more power than our entire reactor output. It's impossible. Nothing biological should be able to." "Contact Lord Vader. Tell him we found something he needs to see. And prepare the tractor beams. If that thing moves toward any civilian populations, we bring it down by any means necessary."
Far below, standing in a crater of his own making on a desert world at the edge of the galaxy, Goku powered up to Super Saiyan. Golden light erupted around him, his hair standing on end and shifting to brilliant gold, his eyes becoming teal pools of focused power. The transformation sent a shockwave rolling across the Dune Sea, and every sensor in the Imperial fleet screamed warnings. "My name is Goku," he called out, his voice resonating with power. "And I think I need to learn a lot more about this galaxy before I decide whose side I'm on. But I promise you this, I will protect the innocent. That's what I do. That's who I am." If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Star Destroyer opened fire, and the Battle of Tatooine's Dune Sea began. But what neither the Empire nor Goku knew was that this moment, this first clash between Ki and the Force, was being felt across the galaxy by those sensitive to the cosmic currents. In his meditation chamber aboard the Executor, Darth Vader's eyes snapped open. On Dagobah, Yoda's ears perked up. And in the depths of Coruscant, Emperor Palpatine smiled. Something new had entered the galaxy, something powerful, something that could change everything. And the game was now in motion.
The Battle of the Dune Sea lasted exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds, not because Goku was defeated, but because he refused to truly fight back. Turbo laser fire rained down from the Star Destroyer, each bolt carrying enough energy to vaporize a building. Goku moved through the barrage like a dancer, his body shifting and weaving between emerald lances of death with a grace that defied physics. His instant transmission flickered him across kilometers in eye blinks, making the Empire's targeting computers scream errors. TIE fighters screamed past, their laser cannons chattering uselessly as he simply wasn't where their sensors said he should be. "This is incredible!" Goku shouted over the roar of weapons fire, a genuine grin splitting his face despite the danger. "Your ships are so fast, and those energy weapons, they're really something." He caught a turbo laser bolt with his bare hand, ki flaring to absorb and redirect the energy harmlessly into the sky. The blast dissipated in a shower of golden sparks. "You're wasting your time. I told you, I don't want to fight." On the Devastator's bridge, Captain Davian watched his weapons officers increasingly frantic reports with mounting dread. "Sir, he caught a turbo laser with his hand. That's not possible. That's 24 kilotons of directed energy." "I can see that, Lieutenant," Davian said through gritted teeth. "Redirect all forward batteries, concentrate fire, and get me Lord Vader's ETA." "Lord Vader's shuttle is 3 minutes out, sir. But Captain, our fighter squadron are requesting permission to withdraw. They say their weapons have no effect, and the entity keeps apologizing to them." Davian's eye twitched. Apologizing. Down in the combat zone, Goku had indeed been apologizing. A TIE fighter had gotten too close, and he'd accidentally clipped its solar panel while dodging, sending it spiraling toward the sand. Goku immediately broke off from evading the Star Destroyer's fire, caught the fighter with one hand, and gently set it down on the desert floor before the pilot could eject. "Sorry about that," he called through the cockpit window at the terrified pilot. "You okay in there? I didn't mean to hit you. These ships are trickier than they look." The pilot just stared at him, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Goku gave him a thumbs up and rocketed back into the sky as another wave of laser fire pursued him. But the Empire's assault had accomplished one thing. It had driven Goku away from populated areas. The Star Destroyer was slowly herding him deeper into the wastes, away from Mos Eisley and the moisture farms. Goku recognized the tactic. Piccolo had done something similar during their first World Tournament fight, but he went along with it. Better to keep the violence away from innocent people. What Goku didn't know was that every second of the battle was being recorded and analyzed. The Empire's tactical computers were learning his movement patterns, calculating probability matrices, searching for weaknesses. And more importantly, the energy readings were being transmitted across the HoloNet to every Imperial facility with clearance to receive them. On Coruscant, in the Emperor's throne room deep within the Imperial Palace, Palpatine watched the holographic display with hooded yellow eyes. His gnarled fingers tapped against the armrest of his throne as Goku flickered across the projection, golden aura blazing like a miniature sun. "Fascinating," Palpatine whispered, his voice like dry leaves scraping stone. "Not force-sensitive, and yet such power. Such raw, magnificent power. Where did you come from, little warrior? And more importantly, what would you become in my service?" Back on Tatooine, Goku was starting to get frustrated. He'd been dodging and deflecting for minutes now, and the Imperial forces showed no signs of standing down. Worse, his ki was draining faster than it should. That strange resistance he'd felt earlier was taking its toll. Every technique, every burst of speed required more energy than normal. His body was adapting, yes, but not fast enough. "Okay, that's it," Goku shouted, dropping out of Super Saiyan form to conserve energy. His hair darkened to black, but his aura remained visible, white and crackling with barely contained power. He cupped his hands at his side, ki gathering between his palms in a brilliant blue sphere. The energy built quickly, humming with potential. Ka, May, Ha, May. Every sensor on the Devastator redlined simultaneously. Alarms shrieked across the bridge.
The weapons officer looked up, face drained of color. "Sir, energy spike. He's charging some kind of weapon. Power readings are, Emperor's bones, it's reading higher than our main reactor." "Evasive maneuvers," Davian roared. "All power to forward shields. Brace for..." Ha!
The Kamehameha erupted from Goku's hands, a column of pure azure ki that lit up the desert like a second sun. But Goku had perfect control. Instead of aiming for the Star Destroyer, he angled the beam straight up, sending it screaming into the atmosphere and out into space. The display of raw power made the point perfectly. "I could destroy your ship if I wanted to. I'm choosing not to." The beam dissipated in the upper atmosphere, but its passage had ionized a column of air 3 meters wide. Thunder rolled across the dune sea. Every electronic system within 5 kilometers flickered and reset. And in the sudden, ringing silence that followed, everyone understood that the game had fundamentally changed. "Ceasefire," Captain Davian said quietly. "All batteries, stand down. Maintain defensive posture only." He straightened his uniform with shaking hands. "And somebody get me Lord Vader, right now." The Lambda-class shuttle descended through the ionized air, its tri-wing configuration marking it as a vessel of importance. Goku watched it approach, his key senses probing carefully. There was something different about the life force aboard this ship. Darker, more focused, wrapped in layers of mechanical enhancement and cold purpose. Whoever was coming, they were powerful in ways the other Imperials weren't. The shuttle landed 100 meters from Goku's position, sand billowing as its repulsor lifts kicked up desert dust. The boarding ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss, and Goku felt his instincts sharpen as he sensed the approaching presence. This one was dangerous. This one was a warrior. Darth Vader descended the ramp like an approaching storm. His black armor absorbed the twin suns' light, his cape billowing in the hot desert wind. The respirator built into his mask breathed in its distinctive, rhythmic pattern, a sound that had become synonymous with terror across 1,000 worlds. His hand rested on the lightsaber at his belt, but he hadn't drawn it yet. For a long moment, the two warriors simply stared at each other across the sand. Goku studied this armored figure, noting the obvious cybernetics, the way his presence felt simultaneously alive and not quite alive. Vader studied Goku in turn, reaching out through the Force to sense this impossible being and finding nothing. No Force signature, no midi-chlorians, just a vast, incomprehensible energy that existed entirely outside the Force's natural order. "You are not of this galaxy," Vader stated. His voice was deep and mechanically modulated, carrying an authority that brooked no argument. "Your power is unprecedented, unknown. You do not touch the Force, and yet you possess abilities that rival the greatest Force wielders I have encountered." Goku relaxed slightly. At least this one was willing to talk. "Yeah, I'm definitely not from around here. I'm from a place called Earth, different universe, I think. Got here by accident. And I still don't really understand what this Force thing is. Is it like ki?" "Ki?" Vader's head tilted slightly. "Explain." "It's life energy," Goku said, gesturing as he tried to put complex martial arts philosophy into simple terms. "Everything that's alive has it. You can sense it, control it, use it to make yourself stronger or shoot energy blasts or fly. I've been training with ki my whole life." I paused. "This Force thing you guys keep mentioning, does it work the same way?" The Kamehameha erupted from Goku's hands, a column of pure azure ki that lit up the desert like a second sun. But Goku had perfect control. Instead of aiming for the Star Destroyer, he angled the beam straight up, sending it screaming into the atmosphere and out into space. The display of raw power made the point perfectly. I could destroy your ship if I wanted to. I'm choosing not to." The beam dissipated in the upper atmosphere, but its passage had ionized a column of air 3 meters wide. Thunder rolled across the dune sea. Every electronic system within 5 kilometers flickered and reset. And in the sudden, ringing silence that followed, everyone understood that the game had fundamentally changed. "Ceasefire," Captain Davian said quietly. "All batteries, stand down. Maintain defensive posture only." He straightened his uniform with shaking hands. "And somebody get me Lord Vader, right now." The Lambda-class shuttle descended through the ionized air, its tri-wing configuration marking it as a vessel of importance. Goku watched it approach, his key senses probing carefully. There was something different about the life force aboard this ship. Darker, more focused, wrapped in layers of mechanical enhancement and cold purpose. Whoever was coming, they were powerful in ways the other Imperials weren't. The shuttle landed 100 meters from Goku's position, sand billowing as its repulsor lifts kicked up desert dust. The boarding ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss, and Goku felt his instincts sharpen as he sensed the approaching presence. This one was dangerous. This one was a warrior. Darth Vader descended the ramp like an approaching storm. His black armor absorbed the twin sun's light, his cape billowing in the hot desert wind. The respirator built into his mask breathed in its distinctive, rhythmic pattern, a sound that had become synonymous with terror across 1,000 worlds. His hand rested on the lightsaber at his belt, but he hadn't drawn it yet. For a long moment, the two warriors simply stared at each other across the sand. Goku studied this armored figure, noting the obvious cybernetics, the way his presence felt simultaneously alive and not quite alive. Vader studied Goku in turn, reaching out through the Force to sense this impossible being and finding nothing. No Force signature, no midi-chlorians, just a vast, incomprehensible energy that existed entirely outside the Force's natural order. "You are not of this galaxy," Vader stated. His voice was deep and mechanically modulated, carrying an authority that brooked no argument. "Your power is unprecedented, unknown. You do not touch the Force, and yet you possess abilities that rival the greatest Force wielders I have encountered." Goku relaxed slightly. At least this one was willing to talk. "Yeah, I'm definitely not from around here. I'm from a place called Earth, different universe, I think. Got here by accident. And I still don't really understand what this Force thing is. Is it like ki?" "Ki?" Vader's head tilted slightly. "Explain." "It's life energy," Goku said, gesturing as he tried to put complex martial arts philosophy into simple terms. "Everything that's alive has it. You can sense it, control it, use it to make yourself stronger or shoot energy blasts or fly. I've been training with ki my whole life." I paused. "This Force thing you guys keep mentioning, does it work the same way?"
The Force is the energy field created by all living things, Vader replied. His hand remained on his lightsaber, but Goku noticed he hadn't moved to draw it. Interesting. It surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together. Those sensitive to it can manipulate reality itself, move objects with thought, see the future, influence weak minds. The Jedi claimed it had a will, a purpose. I know it merely as power. Goku's eyes lit up with genuine excitement. That sounds amazing! So you can use this Force? Can you show me? Maybe if I understand how it works, I can figure out why my ki feels weird here. The request caught Vader off guard. In his decades of service to the Empire, no one had ever asked him to demonstrate the Force out of simple curiosity. Fear, yes, Reverence occasionally, but this being, this Goku, showed neither, just earnest interest, like a student encountering a new martial art. "You wish to understand," he said slowly. "Not to fight, not to flee, to understand." "Well, yeah," Goku replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "I mean, I ended up in your galaxy somehow. Might as well learn about it while I figure out how to get home. And you seem way more reasonable than those other guys who just started shooting at me." A strange sound emerged from Vader's respirator, something that might have been a laugh in another life. "The Empire does not negotiate with unknown threats. You destroyed none of our forces, yet demonstrated the capacity to annihilate this entire fleet. This restraint is unexpected." "I don't kill people if I don't have to," Goku said seriously. "Where I come from, I've fought a lot of bad guys, really bad guys, like planet-destroying tyrants and evil gods, but I always try to give them a chance to change first. Some of them even became my friends eventually. My wife says I'm too trusting, but I think most people have good in them if you give them a chance to find it." Vader was silent for a long moment. The concept was so foreign to his existence, so antithetical to everything the Empire represented, that he found himself genuinely unsure how to respond. The Force whispered warnings. This being was dangerous, unpredictable, could threaten everything Vader had built. But the Force also whispered something else, something he hadn't felt in years: curiosity. "You speak of tyrants and gods, yet you stand on a world under the rule of the Galactic Empire, the most powerful government this galaxy has ever known. Do you understand what that means?" Goku's expression grew more serious. "That guy I talked to earlier, the officer, he was scared when I asked if the Empire was good. Really scared. And I've met enough evil empires to recognize the signs." His fists clenched slightly. "Are you the bad guys?" "Good and evil are matters of perspective. The Empire brings order to a chaotic galaxy, peace through strength, unity through power." That's what Frieza said, right before he destroyed planet Vegeta and enslaved or killed millions of people. He looked Vader directly in the eyes, or where he assumed the eyes were behind that mask. "I don't care about politics or governments or who's in charge, but if people are suffering, if innocents are being hurt, I can't just ignore that." "Then you position yourself as an enemy of the Empire," Vader stated flatly. His hand tightened on his lightsaber. "No," Goku said firmly. "I position myself as someone who protects people. If the Empire is really as bad as I'm starting to think it is, then yeah, I'll help whoever's fighting against it. But I'm not looking to start a war. I just want to understand what's going on, maybe help some people, and find a way home." Vader's tactical mind was already calculating possibilities. This being was too powerful to contain, too unpredictable to control through normal means. But perhaps there was another way. The Emperor would want this Goku captured, studied, possibly turned to the Empire's purposes. But Vader had learned something important in the last few minutes. This warrior operated on a code of honor that was both admirably pure and tactically exploitable. "I propose an arrangement. You claim you wish to understand this galaxy. Very well. Come with me to an Imperial facility. No weapons, no restraints. I will show you the Empire's purpose, its structure, its necessity. In exchange, you will submit to non-invasive analysis. We will study your unique energy signature and perhaps discover why your abilities function differently here. Knowledge for knowledge." Goku considered this carefully. Every instinct warned him this was probably a trap. But those same instincts told him something else. This Vader was being honest in his own way. He wasn't lying if he wasn't telling the whole truth either. "What about the people you're fighting?" Goku asked. "The officer mentioned something about violations and security. Are there rebels? People fighting against the Empire?" "There are terrorists and insurgents, remnants of the failed old republic who refuse to accept the new order. They commit acts of violence against Imperial citizens and infrastructure. The Emperor has declared them enemies of peace." "And what do they say they're fighting for?" Vader's respirator cycled several times before he answered. "Freedom, democracy, the return of the Jedi Order, illusions and nostalgia for a corrupt system that failed the galaxy." Goku nodded slowly. "Okay, here's my counteroffer. I'll come with you and learn about the Empire, but I also want to meet these rebels and hear their side of things. If I'm going to understand this galaxy, I need to hear from everyone, not just one side. Fair?" "The Empire does not negotiate with—" "Yeah, I heard that already. But you're negotiating with me right now. Look, I can just fly away if I want to. Your ships can't catch me, and I don't think anything you've got can hurt me badly enough to stop me." He wasn't boasting, just stating facts. "But I'm choosing to work with you because I think you're someone who respects strength and honor. So let's make a deal that respects both. I visit the Empire, I visit the rebels, and I decide for myself what's going on. Then I choose what to do next."
Vader stood motionless, his mind racing. The Emperor would be furious if he allowed this being unsupervised access to rebel elements. But Vader also recognized that Goku was offering something valuable: time. Time to study him, to understand his weaknesses, to prepare countermeasures if he proved to be an enemy. And perhaps, just perhaps, time to convince him that the Empire's order was preferable to chaos. "You will not interfere with Imperial operations," Vader stated. "You will not aid rebel elements during your investigation. And if you choose to oppose the Empire after learning our purpose, you will grant us the courtesy of open challenge rather than subterfuge." "Deal," Goku said immediately, stepping forward and extending his hand. "I fight fair, always have." Vader looked at the offered hand for a long moment. The gesture was so simple, so absurdly trusting given the circumstances. Finally, he reached out and clasped Goku's hand in his own armored grip. The warrior's strength was immediately apparent, not crushing, but present, contained, like shaking hands with a fusion reactor that had learned to be gentle. "Then we have an accord," Vader said. "You will accompany me to an Imperial research station. There, you will meet individuals who can explain the Empire's vision, and afterward," he paused, "I will arrange for you to speak with captured rebel personnel. You will see how they threaten the peace we have built." "Sounds good to me," Goku said cheerfully. Then his stomach rumbled so loudly that several stormtroopers on the nearby transport looked around in alarm. Goku laughed and rubbed his belly. "But first, do you guys have any food? That fight in the dimensional travel really worked up an appetite. I could eat about 100 of whatever you've got." Vader's respirators cycled in what might have been exasperation. "We will provide sustenance. Though I doubt you understand what you ask. 100 portions would feed a squad for a week." "Perfect," Goku grinned. "Then I'll only need about 2 or 3 squads worth." As they walked toward Vader's shuttle, the Dark Lord of the Sith found himself in unfamiliar territory. He had faced Jedi Masters and Sith assassins, rebel heroes and criminal overlords, but this cheerful, impossibly powerful warrior from another universe represented something entirely new. Dangerous? Absolutely. But also interesting.
High above, the Devastator's crew watched in stunned silence as their most feared enforcer and the mysterious entity boarded the shuttle together. Captain Davian collapsed into his command chair, suddenly feeling every one of his 43 years. "Notify Imperial Command," he said wearily. "Lord Vader has secured the entity. They're coming aboard. And may the Emperor have mercy on us all, because I have a feeling everything just got very, very complicated." The shuttle rose into the sky, carrying a Sith Lord and a Saiyan toward a meeting that would reshape the galaxy's future. And far away, on a distant jungle moon, Princess Leia Organa studied rebel intelligence reports about an Imperial engagement on Tatooine that made no sense at all. Reports of a golden warrior who caught turbo laser fire with his bare hands and refused to fight back. "What in the stars is happening out there?" she whispered. The Force had no answer, but it was listening.
The Devastator's mess hall had never seen anything like it. Goku sat at a reinforced Durasteel table, surrounded by stacks of empty meal trays that rose like silver towers on either side of him. Stormtroopers and naval personnel had gathered at a respectful distance, watching in horrified fascination as the strange warrior demolished his 97th portion of standard Imperial rations. The cooks had given up trying to keep pace and simply started bringing out entire storage containers. "This stuff isn't bad," Goku said between bites, his mouth full of what the Empire called protein supplement loaf. "Kind of bland, but way better than the senzu beans Korin grows. Those things taste like dirt." He paused to drain an entire canister of water, 5 liters in one long gulp. "You got anything spicy? Or sweet? I really like both." The mess officer, a career naval man named Lieutenant Kessler, just stared. "Sir, you've consumed approximately 400 kilograms of food in the last 20 minutes. That's physically impossible." "Saiyan metabolism," Goku explained cheerfully, reaching for another tray. "We burn through energy really fast, especially after fighting or training. Plus, I'm still recovering from that dimensional jump. My body's working overtime trying to adapt to this universe's physics." He took another massive bite. "This stuff is actually pretty normal for me. You should see my friend Vegeta eat. He's even worse." Across the mess hall, Darth Vader stood motionless, observing. He had removed himself from the feeding area, partly because his armor's life support systems meant he could no longer eat in any traditional sense, and partly because watching Goku devour enough food to sustain a small garrison was disconcerting. The warrior's casual power, his complete lack of concern for Imperial protocol, his genuine friendliness towards stormtroopers who had been shooting at him an hour ago, all of it was alien to Vader's experience. "Lord Vader," Captain Davian approached carefully, datapad in hand. "The initial scans are complete. The results are unusual." "Elaborate." "His cellular structure is entirely biological. No cybernetics, no force-reactive midichlorians that we can detect. But his cells generate energy through a process our scientists don't understand. It's like each individual cell is a miniature fusion reactor. The energy output is staggering." "I hesitate, sir. If these readings are accurate, his body produces more power per kilogram than any technology we possess, including the Death Star's reactor, proportionately speaking." Vader turned his masked gaze toward Goku, who was now arm wrestling with an enthusiastic stormtrooper and clearly holding back to make it interesting for the trooper. "And his weaknesses?" "None detected yet, my lord. No biological vulnerabilities to standard toxins, extreme temperatures, or radiation. His regenerative capabilities are extraordinary. Small wounds we observed during the battle healed in minutes. And, Lord Vader,
Davian's voice dropped lower. "The technicians say his energy signature is growing stronger, not depleting, stronger, as if exposure to our universe is making him more powerful." "Interesting," Vader murmured. The Force whispered warnings, but also possibilities. Such power, properly directed, could reshape the galaxy, but uncontrolled, it could threaten even the Emperor himself. "Continue monitoring and prepare the interrogation archives. I want him to see what the rebellion truly represents." "The interrogation archives, my lord? Are you certain? Those recordings are classified for—" "I am aware of their classification, Captain." Vader's tone could have frozen plasma. "Goku claims he wishes to understand both sides of this conflict. Very well, let him see the rebellion's methods, their violence, their cost in innocent lives. Perhaps reality will cure him of his naive idealism."
The Devastator's mess hall had never seen anything like it. Goku sat at a reinforced Durasteel table, surrounded by stacks of empty meal trays that rose like silver towers on either side of him. Stormtroopers and naval personnel had gathered at a respectful distance, watching in horrified fascination as the strange warrior demolished his 97th portion of standard Imperial rations. The cooks had given up trying to keep pace and simply started bringing out entire storage containers. "This stuff isn't bad," Goku said between bites, his mouth full of what the Empire called protein supplement loaf. "Kind of bland, but way better than the senzu beans Korin grows. Those things taste like dirt." He paused to drain an entire canister of water, 5 liters in one long gulp. "You got anything spicy? Or sweet? I really like both." The mess officer, a career naval man named Lieutenant Kessler, just stared. "Sir, you've consumed approximately 400 kilograms of food in the last 20 minutes. That's physically impossible." "Saiyan metabolism," Goku explained cheerfully, reaching for another tray. "We burn through energy really fast, especially after fighting or training. Plus, I'm still recovering from that dimensional jump. My body's working overtime trying to adapt to this universe's physics." He took another massive bite. "This stuff is actually pretty normal for me. You should see my friend Vegeta eat. He's even worse." Across the mess hall, Darth Vader stood motionless, observing. He had removed himself from the feeding area, partly because his armor's life support systems meant he could no longer eat in any traditional sense, and partly because watching Goku devour enough food to sustain a small garrison was disconcerting. The warrior's casual power, his complete lack of concern for Imperial protocol, his genuine friendliness towards stormtroopers who had been shooting at him an hour ago, all of it was alien to Vader's experience. "Lord Vader," Captain Davian approached carefully, datapad in hand. "The initial scans are complete. The results are unusual." "Elaborate." "His cellular structure is entirely biological. No cybernetics, no force-reactive midichlorians that we can detect. But his cells generate energy through a process our scientists don't understand. It's like each individual cell is a miniature fusion reactor. The energy output is staggering." "I hesitate, sir. If these readings are accurate, his body produces more power per kilogram than any technology we possess, including the Death Star's reactor, proportionately speaking." Vader turned his masked gaze toward Goku, who was now arm wrestling with an enthusiastic stormtrooper and clearly holding back to make it interesting for the trooper. "And his weaknesses?" "None detected yet, my lord. No biological vulnerabilities to standard toxins, extreme temperatures, or radiation. His regenerative capabilities are extraordinary,
Small wounds we observed during the battle healed in minutes. And, Lord Vader, Davian's voice dropped lower. The technicians say his energy signature is growing stronger, not depleting, stronger, as if exposure to our universe is making him more powerful. Interesting, Vader murmured. The Force whispered warnings, but also possibilities. Such power, properly directed, could reshape the galaxy. But uncontrolled, it could threaten even the Emperor himself. Continue monitoring and prepare the interrogation archives. I want him to see what the rebellion truly represents. The interrogation archives, my lord? Are you certain? Those recordings are classified for... I am aware of their classification, Captain. Vader's tone could have frozen plasma. Goku claims he wishes to understand both sides of this conflict. Very well, let him see the rebellion's methods, their violence, their cost in innocent lives. Perhaps reality will cure him of his naive idealism.
An hour later, Goku stood in a secure briefing room deep within the Devastator's intelligence section. The walls were lined with holographic projectors, currently dark. Vader entered behind him, his presence filling the room like approaching thunder. "You asked to understand this galaxy's conflict?" Vader said. "I will show you why the Empire is necessary, why order must be maintained regardless of cost." He activated the projectors with a gesture. The room filled with holographic imagery. Goku watched as scenes played out before him. Burning cities, destroyed installations, civilian casualties in the crossfire of rebel attacks. The narration was crisp and imperial, describing each incident with cold efficiency. "The rebellion claims to fight for freedom," Vader's voice cut through the images. "But their methods bring only chaos. They destroy infrastructure that billions depend upon. Their attacks on Imperial facilities often result in collateral damage to civilian populations. They steal, sabotage, and murder in the name of their ideology." Goku watched silently as the images continued. He saw a destroyed garrison where rebel bombs had killed not just stormtroopers, but local workers. A hijacked transport ship where hostages had died during the rebellion's raid. Supply convoys ambushed, leaving frontier worlds without vital resources. This is what they are: terrorists who hide behind rhetoric about democracy and freedom. They remember the old republic with nostalgic lies, forgetting its corruption, its weakness, its failure to prevent galactic war. The Empire brought order from that chaos, unity from division, peace through strength. The images shifted to show Imperial accomplishments. Infrastructure projects, industrial development, streamlined government. It was a compelling picture if you ignored what lurked between the lines. But Goku had fought tyrants before. He'd seen how powerful beings justified their actions, how they framed violence as necessity. He watched the propaganda with a serious expression, his usual cheerfulness fading. "I see a lot of order," Goku said quietly when the presentation ended. "But I don't see much freedom. And I notice you didn't show me why these people started rebelling in the first place. What did the Empire do that made them desperate enough to fight back?" "The rebels are remnants of a failed system," Vader replied. "They cannot accept that their way has ended. They cling to power they no longer deserve. Or maybe they're fighting because you're hurting people." Goku turned to face Vader directly. "I've seen this before. Back home, there was a guy named Frieza who conquered planets and claimed he was bringing order and prosperity.
He even convinced a lot of people it was true. But underneath, he was just a tyrant who enjoyed power and didn't care who suffered for it. "I am not this Frieza," Vader said coldly. "Maybe not," Goku acknowledged. "But from what I'm seeing, your empire uses fear to control people. You blow up ships and call it justice. You hunt down anyone who disagrees with you. That's not peace. That's just forcing everyone to be too scared to speak up." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Vader took a step forward, his hand resting on his lightsaber. "You dare judge us, you who have been in this galaxy for mere hours? You understand nothing of what was required to end the Clone Wars, to prevent the Jedi's corruption from destroying civilization itself." "Then help me understand," Goku said, not backing down despite the obvious threat in Vader's posture. "What happened? Why did things get this way? Because right now, all I see is a powerful government crushing anyone who opposes it. And in my experience, that usually means the government's the problem." For a long moment, Vader was silent. Old memories stirred. Memories of Padme, of the Jedi Council's betrayals, of younglings and temples burning. The path that had led him to this mask, this prison of metal and suffering. The choices that could never be unmade. The Jedi Order ruled this galaxy for 1,000 generations. They claimed to serve the Force, to maintain peace, but they were arrogant, blind. They allowed corruption to fester, permitted a war that killed billions. And when confronted with their failures, they attempted to overthrow the lawfully elected government in a treasonous coup.
"And you stopped them," Goku said, reading between the lines. "I executed them for their crimes." Vader's words were ice. "Every last one. The Emperor brought order from their chaos. The Empire rose from the ashes of their failure. This is the peace we built." Goku felt his stomach turn. "You killed them all? Even the kids?" The silence stretched. Vader didn't answer, but his lack of denial was answer enough. "I've killed people," Goku said softly. "Evil people who wouldn't stop, who couldn't be reasoned with. I destroyed Kid Buu because he was pure evil and couldn't be saved. I fought Frieza because he was a mass murderer who enjoyed causing suffering. But kids?" His fists clenched. "That's not justice. That's not order. That's just murder." "You know nothing of what was required." Vader's voice rose, rage breaking through his usual control. "The Jedi would have plunged the galaxy into eternal war. They would have done what?" Goku interrupted, his own voice hardening. "Disagreed with you? Fought back against a takeover? Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you helped someone seize power and then killed everyone who might have stopped you. That's exactly what Frieza did. That's exactly what every tyrant I've ever fought has done." The lightsaber hissed to life in Vader's hand, its crimson blade casting bloody shadows across the room. "Guard your tongue, warrior. I have given you courtesy. Do not mistake it for weakness." Goku didn't power up, didn't assume a fighting stance. He just stood there, meeting Vader's masked gaze steadily. "I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not saying you're evil. I don't know you well enough to judge that. But I am saying that what you've described, that's the path evil people walk. Maybe you had reasons, maybe you thought you were doing the right thing, but that doesn't change what it was." "You understand nothing of sacrifice," Vader growled. "Nothing of the burden of bringing order to chaos. You are a child playing at heroism." "Maybe," Goku acknowledged,
But I know what protecting people looks like, and this isn't it." He paused, then asked more gently, "What happened to you? You're strong. I can feel that, even if I don't understand this force thing. And you talk like someone who's in pain, someone who's been hurt. Did the Empire do that to you, or did it happen before?" The question hit Vader like a physical blow. No one asked him about pain. No one dared inquire about the man beneath the mask. Goku's simple, direct compassion was more unsettling than any threat could have been. "My past is irrelevant," Vader said, but his voice had lost its edge. "What matters is the present, the Empire's order, the peace we maintain. Peace through fear, that's not real peace. That's just a pause before the next war. Real peace comes when people want to work together, not when they're scared to do anything else."
Before Vader could respond, an alarm shrieked through the ship. Red emergency lights flashed. A voice crackled over the intercom. "General quarters! Rebel ships detected exiting hyperspace. Multiple contacts. All hands to battle stations." Vader's head snapped toward the ceiling, then back to Goku. "It seems you will see the rebellion's methods firsthand. They have attacked an Imperial vessel. This is what they do: strike without warning, without mercy, seeking only to destroy what we have built." Goku was already moving toward the door. "Are there people in danger? Civilians?" "This ship carries over 30,000 personnel," Vader replied, following him. "If the rebels succeed in crippling us, thousands will die when we fall into Tatooine's gravity well." "Then we need to stop them," Goku said simply. He paused at the door. "But I'm helping because people are in danger, not because I've chosen a side. Understand? I still need to hear the rebels' story." "If they do not kill us first," Vader said darkly. They emerged onto the bridge to chaos. Captain Davian was barking orders as tactical displays showed a small rebel fleet, 2 corvettes, and a half-dozen starfighters executing a hit-and-run attack on the Devastator. It was a suicide mission, which meant it was probably a distraction or a desperation play. "Shields holding at 70%, an officer reported. "Enemy fighters are targeting our sensor array. If they knock it out, we'll be blind to their capital ship's next attack vector." Goku stepped up to the viewport, watching the battle unfold. The starfighters, X-Wings he'd learn later, danced and weaved through the Devastator's defensive fire with skill that reminded him of his own aerial combat. They were good, brave, fighting against impossible odds. "Why are they attacking you?" he asked. "Rebels do not require reasons beyond destruction. They are—" "Incoming transmission!" The communications officer looked up in surprise. "Sir, it's on an open channel. They're demanding we release our prisoners. They say if we don't surrender them within 5 minutes, they'll destroy the ship." "Prisoners? What prisoners?"
Vader's respirator cycled. "Captured rebel operatives. Scheduled for interrogation and trial. Standard procedure."
"You were going to show me some of these prisoners anyway, right? To prove your point about the rebellion?"
"That was the arrangement."
"Then let me talk to them." Goku made his decision quickly. "Right now. If they're really the terrorists you say they are, I'll help you defend this ship. But if they're just people fighting for their freedom—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Vader stood motionless for 3 full respirator cycles. Every tactical instinct screamed to refuse, to eliminate the rebel threat through overwhelming force. But Goku had made a point. If the Empire's cause was just, it would withstand scrutiny. And if the Saiyans saw the rebels as they truly were, desperate, violent, perhaps even unhinged by their losses, he might become an ally. "Captain Davian," he ordered, "maintain defensive fire only. Do not destroy the rebel ships unless absolutely necessary. I am taking our guest to the detention level. We have 5 minutes to resolve this diplomatically." Davian's jaw dropped. "Sir?" "You heard the order, Captain." As they strode toward the detention level, Goku couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into a turning point. Somewhere on this ship were prisoners, people the Empire called terrorists and the rebellion called heroes. In a few minutes, he'd have to decide which side was telling the truth. Or if maybe, just maybe, both sides were wrong. The Force trembled with anticipation, and in hyperspace, racing toward Tatooine with desperate hope, Luke Skywalker and his companions pushed their stolen shuttle to its limits, praying they'd reach their captured friends before the Empire broke them. The galaxy held its breath. The detention level of the Devastator was a place designed to break spirits. Dim lighting cast harsh shadows across durasteel walls. The hum of energy fields created a constant nerve-fraying buzz. Cells lined both sides of the corridor, each containing prisoners awaiting interrogation, trial, or worse. Stormtroopers stood guard at regular intervals, their white armor somehow more menacing in the flickering light. Goku walked beside Vader, his usual cheerfulness subdued. He could sense the life forces in these cells, fear, anger, desperation, but also something else, determination, hope, however faint. These people hadn't given up. "Cell block AA-23, Vader announced as they stopped before a particular detention unit. "The prisoners here are rebel operatives captured during a raid on an Imperial supply depot 3 weeks ago. They killed 16 personnel during their attack, soldiers who were simply performing their duties." The energy field deactivated with a sharp hiss. Inside, 3 figures looked up, 2 humans and a Twi'lek. They wore the ragged remains of rebel flight suits, bore visible signs of interrogation, and their eyes held that peculiar mixture of defiance and exhaustion that Goku had seen before in Prisoners of War. The older human, a man with graying hair and a scar across his cheek, stood slowly. His eyes widened when he saw Goku, then narrowed with suspicion when he noticed the Saiyan standing calmly beside Darth Vader. "Come to watch the execution, Lord Vader? Or have you brought a new toy to help with your interrogations?" "Neither, Commander Reston. This is Goku. He is new to our galaxy. He wishes to understand our conflict. I thought you might enlighten him about the rebellion's noble cause." The sarcasm was thick enough to cut, but Goku stepped forward, ignoring it. "I'm not with the Empire. I just got here, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Vader says you're terrorists who kill innocent people. What do you say?" Reston laughed bitterly. "What do I say? I say the Empire destroyed the Republic, murdered the Jedi, and turned the galaxy into a fascist nightmare. I say they dissolved planetary governments and replaced them with moffs who rule through fear. I say they built a weapon capable of destroying entire worlds and aren't afraid to use it." He spat on the floor. "But sure, we're the terrorists. You attacked a supply depot, killed Imperial personnel. How do you justify murder? Those personnel were guarding weapons shipments meant for oppressing Lothal. Blasters used to massacre protesters. Walkers used to crush peaceful demonstrations. We didn't start this war. You did when you crowned yourself Emperor and crushed every voice that dared to disagree." The Twi'lek woman spoke up, her accented voice trembling with barely contained rage. "My planet tried to remain neutral. We wanted no part of your empire or any rebellion. You know what happened?
The Empire nationalized our resources, enslaved half our population for labor camps, and executed our leaders for sedition. My sister was 14 when they took her. 14. I joined the rebellion the day after her transport left. Goku felt his jaw tighten. He turned to Vader. Is that true? Does the Empire enslave people? The Empire utilizes prison labor for infrastructure projects. Criminals and enemies of the state contribute to the greater good through service. It is justice. It's slavery, Goku said flatly. Call it whatever you want, but forcing people to work against their will is slavery. We had that on Earth once. It was wrong then, and it's wrong now. The younger human prisoner, barely out of his teens, laughed shakily. He doesn't know. Stars above, you actually found someone who doesn't know about the Empire's atrocities. He looked at Goku with something like pity. You want to understand the rebellion? Here's the simple version. We fight because the alternative is living on our knees. The Empire took everything, our freedom, our representation, our futures. They promised order and delivered tyranny. So yeah, we fight back. And yeah, sometimes Imperial soldiers die. But what's the alternative? Let them turn the galaxy into a prison? There are always alternatives to violence. The Empire offers prosperity to those who accept its rule, peace to those who embrace order. You chose chaos instead. We chose freedom, and will keep fighting until every planet in this galaxy remembers what that word means.
Goku was quiet for a long moment, his mind working through what he'd heard. Finally, he asked a simple question. What happened to start all this? Vader mentioned a clone war and the Jedi being corrupt. What's the real story? The prisoners exchanged glances. The Twi'lek woman spoke carefully. The Clone Wars were real, a galactic conflict between the Republic and the Separatists. Millions died. But what most people don't know is that Chancellor Palpatine, now the Emperor, engineered the whole thing. He played both sides, built a clone army in secret, and used the war to grant himself emergency powers. When the Jedi discovered his deception, tried to arrest him for being a Sith Lord, he turned it around, called it a coup, used his clone army to execute Order 66. Order 66? Goku asked. A hidden command in every clone trooper's programming, Reston explained bitterly. One order, transmitted galaxy-wide, and suddenly every Jedi's own troops turned on them. Thousands of Jedi, warriors, teachers, even children, murdered in a single night. The survivors were hunted down and killed. The Emperor declared them traitors, and most of the galaxy believed him because they were too scared or too tired from the war to question it. Goku looked at Vader, whose respirator cycled steadily. Is that what happened? Your Emperor was secretly controlling both sides of a war? The Chancellor did what was necessary to end the conflict. The Jedi had become complacent, dangerous. They would have stopped a dictatorship from forming, Goku interrupted quietly. That's why they tried to arrest him, isn't it? Because he was seizing power illegally. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Vader spoke, his voice carrying an edge of something that might have been old pain. The Jedi lost their way. They served their own interests, not the galaxy's. The Emperor brought order from their chaos. By killing them all, even the kids. You told me that yourself. The prisoners stared at Goku, then at Vader, shock written across their faces. They'd suspected, rumors had spread, but hearing confirmation from Vader himself, even secondhand, was something else entirely. Before anyone could respond, a massive impact rocked the ship. Alarms blared, the emergency lighting flickered. Direct hit to the aft shields! Rebel corvette is making another attack run!
We need those detention-level shields back online, or the next hit will breach the hull. Vader's hand went to his lightsaber. The rebels are attacking their own people, willing to risk killing their captured comrades to damage this ship. This is their way, reckless, destructive, caring nothing for the cost. Or they're desperate, Goku said. He looked at Reston. Are those your people out there? Reston's face had gone pale. If they're attacking the detention level, they must think we're already dead. They're trying to prevent you from interrogating us further. He met Goku's eyes. We knew the risks. Better to die than break under torture and reveal our cells' locations. They're doing what they have to do. Another impact, closer this time. The Twi'lek woman grabbed the cell bars as the ship shuddered. If that shield fails, she whispered, everyone in this section dies. Us, the guards, other prisoners, everyone. Goku made his decision in a heartbeat. Vader, get everyone out of this section, now. The shields will hold, Vader said coldly. And even if they do not, the rebels' willingness to sacrifice their own proves my point. They are... I don't care about your point, Goku snapped. People are going to die if we stand here arguing. Get the prisoners and guards to safety while I go stop those ships from attacking. You would protect an Imperial vessel. Vader's tone carried genuine surprise. I'm protecting people, Goku corrected. That's what I do. We'll sort out who's right and who's wrong after everyone's safe. He turned to Reston. I'm going to stop your friends from blowing up this section, but I won't kill them. I'll just disable their ships. Deal? Reston stared at this strange, powerful being who seemed to genuinely care about everyone's safety, regardless of which side they were on. You're serious? You actually think you can just stop a space battle through sheer force? I've done it before, Goku said with a slight smile. Granted, different universe, but same principle. Just gotta be fast enough. The hull breach would kill you, Vader stated. Extreme cold, vacuum exposure? I've fought in space before. I can hold my breath for a really long time, and my ki protects me from the cold. I'll be fine. He was already moving toward the corridor. Just get these people somewhere safe. Wait, the young prisoner called out. If you're really going out there, if you can really stop this, tell them we're alive. Tell them Commander Reston sent code Starfall. They'll know it's real.
Goku nodded, gave them a quick thumbs up, and then he was gone, moving so fast that the detention-level guards barely registered his passage. Vader stood in the corridor for 3 full respirator cycles, his mind calculating rapidly. Then he activated his comlink. Captain Davian, evacuate detention level AA-23. All personnel and prisoners to emergency shelters. The warrior is about to do something either brilliant or catastrophically stupid. My lord, just do it, Captain, and have all external cameras trained on the port side. I suspect we are about to witness something unprecedented. On the bridge, Davian watched his tactical displays with growing dread. The rebel corvette was lining up for another attack run, and their starfighters had successfully damaged 2 of the Devastator's shield generators. One more coordinated strike, and the detention level would be exposed to hard vacuum. Target that corvette, he ordered. All batteries, fire at... Sir! The sensor officer's voice cracked with disbelief. Something just exited our hangar bay. No ship signature, no propulsion system, but it's moving. Stars above, it's moving at 0.7 light speed. On every external display, crew members watched as a tiny figure, wreathed in golden light and trailing a comet tail of energy, shot away from the Devastator like a missile. Goku had powered up to Super Saiyan, his aura providing both propulsion and protection as he rocketed toward the rebel formation. The rebel corvette's sensors screamed warnings about an approaching object, but their targeting computers couldn't get a lock. It was too small, too fast, and reading power outputs that made no sense. The weapons officer looked up at his captain in confusion. What do I shoot at? The readings say it's Emperor's bones. It says it's a person, just a person flying in hard vacuum. Impossible, the rebel captain breathed. No one can...
Goku appeared directly in front of the Corvette's viewport, at eye level with the bridge crew. He waved, smiled, and his voice somehow carried across the void, probably amplified by ki, though the rebels would never understand how. "Hey, Commander Reston says to tell you Code Starfall. He's alive. They're all alive. So stop shooting. You're gonna kill your own people." The bridge crew stared in absolute shock at the golden-haired man floating in the vacuum of space like it was a casual stroll. The captain fumbled for his comlink. "All ships, cease fire! Cease fire! I need confirmation on whatever that thing just said." On the Devastator's bridge, Captain Davian was receiving similar confused reports. "He's talking to them, sir. In space, without a suit, and they're listening." Vader stood at the viewport, watching Goku float between the two fleets like a referee at some cosmic sporting match. The Saiyan's golden aura illuminated both Imperial and Rebel ships in its glow. Peaceful, protective, utterly impossible. "Fascinating," Vader murmured.
Vader activated the channel personally. "Your personnel are alive, Captain. The entity speaks the truth. And as for what he is," the Dark Lord paused, something that might have been grim amusement in his tone. "That is a very long story. Stand down your attack, and I will permit him to escort a verification party to confirm your people's status. Then we will discuss terms." "Terms?" the rebel captain said suspiciously. "The Empire doesn't negotiate." "Apparently, we do now," Vader replied, his gaze never leaving Goku's floating form, "when presented with sufficient motivation." Goku flew back toward the Devastator, his mission accomplished. As he approached the hangar bay, he powered down to base form, saving his strength. His ki reserves were lower than he'd like. This universe's resistance was still affecting him, but he'd done what he needed to do. No one had died. Both sides had stopped fighting, at least temporarily. As he touched down in the hangar bay, surrounded by stunned Imperial personnel, Goku allowed himself a small smile. This galaxy was complicated, the politics messy, and he still didn't fully understand who was right and who was wrong, but he'd learned something important today. Both sides, Empire and Rebellion, were made up of people. People with reasons, with pain, with beliefs they'd die for. Neither side was purely evil or purely good. They were just people, caught in a terrible conflict that seemed to have no easy answers. And maybe, just maybe, someone from outside this galaxy could help them find a different way forward. Vader met him in the hangar bay, lightsaber silent at his side. "You stopped a battle through conversation, in vacuum, while glowing like a miniature sun." "Yeah, that went pretty well," Goku said cheerfully. "See, sometimes you don't need to fight. You just need to get people to listen." "And when they refuse to listen?" Vader asked. Goku's expression grew more serious. "Then you make them listen. But you tried talking first. Always." He looked directly at Vader's mask. "I've seen both sides now, the Empire's version and the Rebels' version. And you know what? You're both telling the truth, just not the whole truth. The Empire did bring order, but at the cost of freedom. The Rebels do fight back, but people die in the crossfire. This isn't a simple good versus evil thing." "Few things are," Vader acknowledged quietly. "But there's something else I figured out. This Emperor of yours, the one who engineered the war, killed the Jedi, seized power through deception, he's the real problem. Not the soldiers following orders, not the rebels trying to survive. Him. And I think you know that deep down. I think that's why you're in so much pain." The hangar bay fell absolutely silent. Every trooper, every technician, every officer within earshot froze. No one spoke to Lord Vader like that. No one questioned the Emperor's legitimacy. It was death to even think such thoughts aloud. But Vader didn't strike, didn't rage. He simply stood there, his respirators cycling in its eternal rhythm as Goku's words hung in the air like a judgment from beyond the stars. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "You understand nothing of my burden, nothing of what was required, nothing of—" "I understand plenty," Goku said gently. "I've met people who did terrible things because they thought they had no choice. Some of them became my friends once they realized they did have a choice. They just had to be brave enough to take it. I don't know if you're too far gone to change, but I don't think you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't have negotiated today. You wouldn't have shown me both sides. You'd have just tried to destroy me or recruit me. But you didn't. You let me see the truth." "The truth," Vader echoed hollowly. "Yeah, the truth that this whole conflict is bigger than soldiers and rebels. It's about whether the galaxy gets ruled by fear or by hope, by one man's will or by everyone's choice." He extended his hand again. "I haven't chosen a side yet, but I'm starting to see which side needs help more, and it's not the one with star destroyers and unlimited troops." Before Vader could respond, Captain Davian's voice crackled over the intercom. "Lord Vader, the Rebel verification team is requesting permission to dock. And sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Imperial Command. The Emperor wishes to speak with you immediately. It's marked urgent." Vader's masked face turned toward the ceiling, toward the distant throne room on Coruscant, where his master waited. Palpatine surely felt the disturbance, sensed the shift in the Force. He would want to know about Goku, want to control him, or failing that, eliminate him. "Tell the Emperor I will report within the hour," Vader said, "after I conclude negotiations with the rebel forces." He turned back to Goku. "You have complicated everything, warrior from beyond. The Emperor will not be pleased." "Good," Goku said with sudden steel in his voice, "because I'm starting to think your Emperor is someone I need to meet, face to face. And when I do," he cracked his knuckles, his usual friendly demeanor replaced by the focused intensity of a fighter who'd found his true opponent, "I'm going to ask him the same questions I asked you. And depending on his answers, I'm going to make a choice on whose side I'm really on." The gauntlet had been thrown, and in the depths of space, aboard a rebel corvette, Commander Reston listened to his pilot's breathless report about the Golden Warrior and allowed himself something he hadn't felt in months: hope. The galaxy was changing, and for the first time since the Empire rose, that change felt like it might be for the better.
The meeting room aboard the Liberation was cramped, utilitarian, and smelled of recycled air and desperation. Goku sat across from Commander Reston and 3 other rebel officers, while Vader stood like a shadow near the doorway, technically present for the negotiation, but clearly uncomfortable with the entire concept of treating rebels as anything other than criminals. The verification had gone smoothly. The rebel team had confirmed their captured comrades were alive and relatively unharmed. Now came the hard part: figuring out what happened next. "Let me get this straight," said Captain Mara Thrace of the Liberation, a sharp-eyed woman with commander's pips on her collar and blaster burns on her jacket. "You're not Imperial, you're not Rebel, you're from another universe entirely, you have power that makes Star Destroyers look like children's toys, and you want to— what, exactly? Mediate?" "Sort of," Goku said, scratching his head. "I mean, I don't really do politics, but I've seen enough wars to know that sometimes people fight because they're scared or angry, or because someone powerful is making them fight. And from what I can tell, your Emperor is that someone." "The Emperor is the enemy," Reston agreed immediately. "Everything else, the Empire's military, their infrastructure, even Lord Vader here, they're all just tools of his will. Take him down and the whole system collapses." "It would not collapse," Vader interjected coldly. "It would fragment into warlordism and chaos.
The Emperor maintains order across thousands of systems. Remove him, and you invite another Clone Wars or worse. Better chaos than tyranny, Thrace shot back. Spoken like someone who has never witnessed true galactic chaos. I have. I fought in the Clone Wars. I saw entire civilizations burn. The Empire prevents that, whatever the cost. Goku held up his hands. Okay, everyone calm down. Look, I get it. You all have history and strong feelings. But here's what I'm hearing. The Empire keeps order through fear and force. The rebellion wants freedom, but doesn't have the strength to actually win. And both sides keep fighting because neither one can back down without losing everything. Is that about right? The silence that followed was telling. Finally, Reston nodded slowly. That's actually a fair summary. We can't beat the Empire in open warfare. We can only harass them, slow them down, inspire others to join us. But every victory costs us more than we can afford to lose. And the Empire can't tolerate dissent, because any crack in their control might spread. So they crush us wherever they find us, which just creates more rebels. A self-perpetuating cycle of violence. I've seen it before. Someone needs to break the cycle, but nobody wants to be the first to take that risk. The Emperor will never negotiate, Thrace said flatly. He views us as insects to be exterminated. And frankly, after what the Empire's done, after Order 66, after Alderaan. She caught herself. Well, you haven't heard about Alderaan yet, but trust me, the Emperor doesn't do mercy or compromise. Wait, Goku said, picking up on something. What's Alderaan? The rebels exchanged glances. Vader's respirator cycled more heavily. Finally, Reston spoke, his voice heavy. Alderaan was a peaceful core world. Billions of people. They supported the rebellion politically, but weren't actively fighting. About a year ago, the Empire completed construction of a battle station called the Death Star, a moon-sized weapon capable of destroying entire planets. He paused, pain flickering across his scarred face. They tested it on Alderaan, destroyed the whole planet in seconds, billions dead. To make a point.
Goku felt like he'd been punched in the gut. They destroyed a planet with billions of people on it just to scare everyone else?
To demonstrate the futility of resistance, Vader corrected, though his tone carried less certainty than usual. To prevent larger conflicts that would cost more lives. That's mass murder! Goku's voice rose, his ki flaring unconsciously. The room's temperature spiked as golden energy crackled around him. You killed billions of innocent people to avoid war? That is war! That's worse than war! That's genocide! I did not give the order, Vader said quietly. That was Grand Moff Tarkin's decision, approved by the Emperor. And the Death Star was destroyed shortly after by rebel forces. It no longer threatens the galaxy. But the Emperor would build another if he could, Thrace said. That's who we're fighting. Someone who thinks destroying planets is an acceptable political tool. Goku forced himself to calm down, his aura fading, but his hands remained clenched. This was worse than Frieza. At least Frieza had been honest about being evil. This Emperor hid behind rhetoric about order and peace while committing atrocities that made Goku's blood boil. I need to meet him, Goku said finally. Your Emperor. I need to look him in the eye and understand what kind of person does this. He will try to corrupt you, Vader warned. The Emperor is the most powerful Sith Lord in galactic history. His mastery of the dark side is absolute. He will sense your power and seek to turn it to his purposes. Let him try, Goku said with quiet confidence. I've resisted mind control before, and I'm pretty good at seeing through people's lies. He looked at Vader. Can you arrange a meeting? You said he wanted to talk to you anyway.
Tell him I want to meet him face to face." "You would walk into the Emperor's throne room voluntarily?" Vader's tone suggested this was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. "Yeah, and while I'm doing that, I want you all to agree to a temporary ceasefire." Goku gestured to both Vader and the rebels. "No attacks, no raids, no fighting. Give me a chance to talk to the Emperor and figure out if there's any way to end this war without more people dying." "And if there isn't?" Reeston asked carefully. Goku's expression hardened. "Then I'll make a choice about whose side I'm on. And trust me, once I decide, things are gonna change, one way or another." The certainty in his voice was absolute. Captain Thrace found herself believing him despite the absurdity of the situation. This warrior had stopped a space battle with his bare hands, survived in hard vacuum, and spoken to both sides with equal bluntness. If anyone could actually challenge the Emperor. "The Alliance can't authorize a ceasefire," she said carefully, "but I can delay our operations in this sector for 72 hours. Call it tactical repositioning. Will that work?" "It will suffice," Vader said. He turned to Goku. "I will arrange transport to Coruscant. The Emperor will want to meet you immediately. But warrior, understand that you walk into the heart of darkness itself. The Emperor's power is beyond anything you have encountered. He has ruled for decades, manipulated galactic politics for longer, and his command of the Force is absolute." "Is he stronger than you?" Goku asked directly. Vader's silence was telling. Finally, "Much stronger. I am powerful. The Emperor is supreme." "Good," Goku said, cracking his knuckles. "I like a challenge, and something tells me this Emperor is someone who needs to be challenged." 3 hours later, Goku stood in the hangar bay of an Imperial shuttle, preparing for the jump to hyperspace that would take him to the galactic capital. He'd changed clothes. The rebels had provided him with a simple black outfit that wouldn't immediately mark him as affiliated with either side. His orange G was too torn for public appearance anyway. Vader stood with him, along with a full complement of royal guards, crimson-armored sentinels who served the Emperor directly. They'd arrived within an hour of Vader's transmission, which told Goku everything he needed to know about how seriously the Emperor took this meeting.
"You can still turn back," Vader said quietly. "The Emperor will not allow you to leave if he perceives you as a threat. And trust me, he will perceive you as a threat." "Then I'll just have to be really persuasive," Goku replied. He looked at Vader's masked face. "You know what I think? I think you're warning me because part of you hopes I can do something you can't. Part of you wants someone to stand up to the Emperor, to maybe even beat him." "Your imagination runs wild," Vader said flatly. "Maybe," Goku acknowledged, "but I've got pretty good instincts about people, and my instincts say you're not as loyal as you pretend to be. You're just trapped, scared, maybe even guilty about things you've done." He paused. "I get it. I've made mistakes too. Big ones. But the thing about mistakes is, you can always try to fix them. It's never too late to choose a different path. The path I walk is set, carved in stone by choices made long ago. There is no redemption for what I have become." "That's what Vegeta said," Goku countered. "He was a mass murderer, a proud warrior who'd killed countless innocents in the name of Saiyan pride in Frieza's empire. But he changed. He became one of my best friends and one of Earth's greatest protectors. If he could change, anyone can." Before Vader could respond, the pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Lord Vader, we're ready for hyperspace jump. Coruscant in 6 hours." Vader nodded, then turned back to Goku one last time. "The Emperor will offer you power, purpose, a place in his empire. He will show you visions of order and peace that seem logical, even attractive. And if you refuse, he will try to destroy you." "I know," Goku said simply, "but I have to try. Because if nobody ever stands up to tyrants, they just keep winning. And I didn't survive gobs and demons and universal threats just to let another dictator hurt people in a different universe." The shuttle's engines hummed to life. Through the viewport, stars stretched into lines as the ship made the jump to lightspeed. Goku watched the transition with fascination. It felt different from instant transmission, more mechanical but equally disorienting.
Somewhere ahead, at the center of the galaxy, Emperor Palpatine sat on his throne and smiled. He could feel the approaching presence through the Force, not Force-sensitive, yet radiating power like nothing he'd encountered in his long, dark life. A power from beyond the galaxy itself. A power he would claim, corrupt, or crush. The game was entering its final phase. On the Liberation, Commander Reston watched the Imperial shuttle vanish into hyperspace and turned to his crew. "Get me a direct channel to High Command. Tell them we might have just found the galaxy's only hope, or unleashed something that will make the Emperor even more dangerous. Either way, everything's about to change." Captain Thrace stared at the empty space where Goku had been. "You think he can actually do it? Stand up to the Emperor?" "I don't know," Reston admitted. "But did you see his eyes when we told him about Alderaan? That wasn't tactical calculation or political positioning. That was pure moral outrage. When was the last time you saw someone that powerful care that much about innocent lives?" "Never," Thrace whispered. "I've never seen that. Not once." "Exactly. So maybe, just maybe, we sent the right person to have the conversation the galaxy needs." Reston allowed himself a small smile. "And if the Emperor tries anything, well, I almost feel sorry for him. Almost." The shuttle raced toward Coruscant, carrying a Saiyan warrior who'd never learned to compromise with evil. Behind it, the galaxy held its breath. Ahead, in his throne room, the Emperor prepared to meet the most dangerous being ever to enter his domain. Not because Goku was the strongest, though he might be. Not because he was the smartest, which he definitely wasn't. But because Goku was something Emperor Palpatine had never truly faced in all his centuries of manipulation and dark mastery. Someone genuinely, purely, impossibly good. Someone who saw power not as a means to rule, but as a responsibility to protect. And that kind of purity in the hands of unlimited power was the one thing the dark side could never truly corrupt or control. The Emperor was about to learn that some lights shine too bright for any shadow to swallow.
And some warriors fight not for glory or revenge or conquest, but simply because it's the right thing to do. The Battle of Coruscant was coming, but it wouldn't be fought with fleets or armies. It would be fought with words, wills, and the fundamental question of what kind of galaxy deserved to exist. And Goku was about to cast the deciding vote. Coruscant rose before the shuttle viewport like a monument to power itself. An entire planet transformed into one endless city, its surface glittering with billions of lights, its atmosphere crisscrossed with endless streams of traffic. Goku pressed his face against the transparent steel, eyes wide with wonder despite the tension coiling in his gut. "It's huge," he breathed. "I can sense millions, no billions of life forces down there. How does anyone keep track of that many people?" "They don't," Vader replied from behind him. "The Emperor rules through fear, bureaucracy, and the illusion of order. Most citizens never see the machinery of control. They simply obey, or they disappear." The shuttle descended through Coruscant's atmosphere, past the gleaming Senate district, now largely ceremonial, and toward the Imperial Palace. The structure dominated the landscape, a massive complex of towers and fortifications that had once been the Jedi Temple. Goku felt something shift in his chest when Vader mentioned that detail. They'd built their seat of power on the ruins of the people they'd murdered. The symbolism wasn't lost on him. The landing pad was surrounded by Imperial guards, stormtroopers in perfect formation, and military officials in pressed uniforms. As the ramp lowered, Goku could feel the weight of their attention, the mixture of curiosity and fear. Word had spread quickly about the Golden Warrior who could survive in space and stop battles with his presence alone. "Stay close," Vader instructed as they descended. "The Emperor values protocol and respect. Do not interrupt him. Do not threaten him. Simply listen, answer his questions, and remember, he has ruled this galaxy longer than you have been alive. His patience is vast, but not infinite." "Got it," Goku said, though his tone suggested he'd follow that advice right up until the moment it conflicted with his principles. "That's just who I am." "That is precisely what concerns me," Vader muttered. They walked through corridors of polished stone and elegant architecture, the bones of the old Jedi Temple still visible beneath Imperial modifications. Goku's key senses were on high alert, feeling the dark energy that permeated these halls. It was different from the dark side users he'd sensed before, more concentrated, more ancient, like standing near a black hole that pulled at everything around it. Finally, they reached a massive door that rose 30 meters high. The Imperial guards stationed on either side snapped to attention as Vader approached. With a gesture from the Dark Lord, the doors began to open, revealing a throne room that seemed designed specifically to intimidate. The chamber was circular and vast, with a high ceiling lost in shadows. The walls were dark stone, almost black, with only dim lighting creating pools of illumination. And at the far end, seated on a throne that seemed carved from shadow itself, was Emperor Palpatine. He looked old, ancient even, with pale skin stretched over sharp features, yellow eyes that burned with dark fire, and a presence that made the very air feel heavy. He wore black robes that pooled around him, and when he smiled, it was the smile of a predator who just spotted interesting prey. "Ah!" The Emperor's voice was soft, almost grandfatherly, but with an undercurrent of power that made Goku's instinct scream danger. "Lord Vader, you have brought our mysterious guest. How delightful." Vader knelt immediately. "My master, I present Goku, warrior from beyond our galaxy, as requested." Goku didn't kneel. He walked forward until he stood at a comfortable speaking distance, close enough to talk, far enough to react if things went bad. He met the Emperor's yellow gaze directly. "So, you're the Emperor. I've been hearing a lot about you." "Have you indeed? And what have you heard, young warrior?" "That you engineered a galactic war to seize power, that you killed the Jedi, all of them, even kids, to eliminate anyone who could stop you, that you rule through fear and built a weapon to destroy entire planets." Goku's voice was calm but firm. "That you're basically a tyrant who doesn't care how many people suffer as long as you stay in control." The throne room fell deathly silent. Imperial guards shifted their weapons slightly. Vader's respirator seemed to catch for a moment. No one spoke to the Emperor like that, ever. But Palpatine simply laughed, a dry, rasping sound that echoed through the chamber. My dear boy, you have been listening to rebel propaganda. How refreshing to meet someone so delightfully direct. He leaned forward slightly. Tell me, what do you know of governance, of the burden of ruling trillions across thousands of worlds, of maintaining peace in a galaxy that tears itself apart at every opportunity? Not much, Goku admitted. I'm not a politician or a king. I'm just a fighter who protects people. But I know enough to recognize when someone's hurting innocence and calling it justice. Innocence, Palpatine repeated, tasting the word. Such a naive concept. There are no innocents in galactic politics, young Goku. There are only those with power and those without, those who shape destiny and those who are shaped by it. His yellow eyes glittered. I sense you are confused by this galaxy, by our conflict. You see the rebellion's desperation and mistake it for righteousness. You see the Empire's strength and mistake it for cruelty. But you lack context. Then give me context. Explain to me how destroying Alderaan was necessary, how killing children was justice. Make me understand. The Emperor rose from his throne, slowly, with the careful movements of age, but radiating power that made the shadows in the room deepen. The Clone Wars lasted 3 years and killed billions. The old Republic was corrupt, inefficient, paralyzed by bureaucracy and Jedi dogma. Worlds suffered while senators debated, systems burned while the Jedi meditated on their precious Force philosophy. He began to walk, circling Goku like a teacher lecturing a student. I ended that war in a single day. I brought unity where there was chaos. I replaced a failed democracy with an efficient hierarchy. Yes, the Jedi had to be eliminated. They had become a threat to the very peace they claimed to protect. They would have plunged the galaxy into religious war if left unchecked. So you killed them all, Goku stated flatly. Even the ones who weren't a threat, even the kids who never had a chance to choose. War requires difficult decisions, Palpatine replied smoothly. The Jedi raised their children in their ideology from birth. Every youngling was a future threat. Would you prefer I had waited until they were grown and powerful before they inevitably turned against the order I had built? How many more would have died then? I'd prefer you hadn't created a situation where killing kids seemed like the only option. And Alderaan, how do you justify that? Alderaan was tragedy, Palpatine said, and for a moment he almost sounded sincere. A tool that exceeded its purpose. Grand Moff Tarkin was overzealous. I did not order that world's destruction. I ordered a demonstration of Imperial power. He chose to make that demonstration untenable. 3 billion souls, a heavy price, but their sacrifice prevented a war that would have claimed trillions. The rebellion collapsed after Alderaan. Their support evaporated. The galaxy learned that resistance was futile. Except the rebellion didn't collapse. They destroyed your Death Star. They're still fighting. All you did was murder 3 billion people and prove you're exactly the monster they said you were. The Emperor's smile never wavered, but his eyes grew colder. You speak boldly for someone who understands so little. Tell me, Goku, in your universe, your galaxy, have you never made difficult choices? Never sacrificed the few to save the many? Never killed those who refused to stop threatening innocence? Goku was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I've killed. I destroyed Kid Buu because he was pure evil and couldn't be reasoned with. I fought Frieza because he was a mass murderer who enjoyed causing pain. But I always tried talking first, always gave them a chance to change. And I never killed anyone who wasn't actively trying to destroy everything. And if I told you the Jedi were actively plotting to overthrow galactic government, that they had become drunk on their own power, believing themselves above the law, Palpatine's voice was silk over steel. Were they? Goku asked directly. Or is that just what you told everyone after you killed them so they couldn't defend themselves? The Emperor's mask of civility cracked slightly. Careful, boy. You stand in my throne room, surrounded by my guards in the heart of my empire. Your power may be great, but I have ruled for decades through strength you cannot comprehend.
Then show me, Goku said, his own voice hardening. You keep talking about power and strength. You keep justifying murder and tyranny with words. But I've learned the people who are actually strong don't need to hurt the weak to prove it. They protect them. Protect them. Palpatine laughed again, but this time there was genuine amusement. You truly are naive. The weak don't want protection. They want someone to blame for their failures, someone to make their decisions, someone to save them from themselves. That is what the Empire provides. Order, purpose, stability. We decide so they don't have to. We act so they can sleep safely. And yes, sometimes that requires actions that appear cruel to limited perspectives. It's not a limited perspective to think killing 3 billion people is wrong. It's called having a conscience. Conscience, Palpatine mused. Such a quaint concept. Tell me, warrior, I can sense your power, even if I cannot understand its source. You could destroy this building with a thought. You could kill everyone in this room in seconds. Why don't you? If I am the monster you believe me to be, why not simply eliminate me and save the galaxy? The question hung in the air. Goku felt every guard's attention on him, felt Vader's tension behind him, felt the Emperor's yellow eyes boring into his soul. Because I'm not a murderer, Goku said finally. I don't kill people just because they're bad, or because it would be easier than finding another way. I came here to understand, to give you a chance to explain, maybe even to find some way to end this war without more death. But I'm starting to think there isn't a peaceful way out of this, not while you're in charge. Ah, Palpatine said softly, there it is, the hero's dilemma. You see a problem, but your morality prevents you from solving it efficiently. How limiting. It's not limiting, Goku corrected. It's what separates me from people like you, from tyrants who think power means you can do whatever you want. His ki began to rise, a subtle golden glow starting to emanate from his skin. I've fought gods, Palpatine, beings who could destroy universes. Some of them thought like you, that they were beyond morality, that they could do anything because they had the strength to do it. You know what happened to them? Enlighten me, the Emperor said, his own power beginning to rise, the dark side of the Force coalescing around him like a living shadow. They learned that power without compassion is just destruction, that strength without heart is just cruelty. And eventually, someone stronger and better came along and stopped them. I'm that someone in this galaxy, Palpatine. I came here by accident, but I'm starting to think maybe it wasn't an accident at all. Maybe I was meant to be here, to give people a choice you've never given them, to be free without being afraid.
Then show me, Goku said, his own voice hardening. You keep talking about power and strength. You keep justifying murder and tyranny with words. But I've learned that people who are actually strong don't need to hurt the weak to prove it. They protect them. Protect them. Palpatine laughed again, but this time there was genuine amusement. You truly are naive. The weak don't want protection. They want someone to blame for their failures, someone to make their decisions, someone to save them from themselves.
That is what the Empire provides: order, purpose, stability. We decide so they don't have to. We act so they can sleep safely. And yes, sometimes that requires actions that appear cruel to limited perspectives. It's not a limited perspective to think killing 3 billion people is wrong. It's called having a conscience. Bold words. Palpatine hissed, his affable mask finally dropping completely. Dark side energy crackled around his fingers, purple lightning dancing between his hands. Lightning erupted from Palpatine's hands, not the measured bolts he'd used on Luke Skywalker, but the full fury of decades of dark side mastery. Purple-white energy lanced across the throne room, a torrent of destruction that could reduce flesh to ash and shatter bone. Goku didn't dodge. He didn't even flinch. The lightning struck his raised hand and simply stopped, absorbed into his ki aura, neutralized by energy that operated on completely different principles than the Force. "I've been hit by lightning before," Goku said calmly, his voice carrying over the crackling energy. "It tickles a bit, but it won't stop me. Is that your best shot?" For the first time in decades, Emperor Palpatine felt something he'd almost forgotten: doubt. This warrior, this impossibility from beyond the stars, had just no-souled Force lightning that could kill a dozen men. Not deflected, not resisted, simply absorbed it like it was nothing. "What are you?" Palpatine whispered. "I'm someone who's going to give you one chance." Super Saiyan energy exploded around him, golden light filling the throne room and pushing back the shadows. His teal eyes locked onto the Emperor's yellow ones. "Surrender. Step down. Let the galaxy choose its own future. Do that, and I won't hurt you. I'll even help you find a peaceful retirement somewhere quiet where you can't hurt anyone else." "And if I refuse?" Goku's expression became deadly serious. "I'll do what I should have done the moment I learned what you were. I'll stop you, permanently if I have to. Because I've given you the chance to explain, to justify, to show me you're not the monster everyone says you are. And all you've done is prove them right." The throne room erupted into chaos. Imperial guards raised their weapons. Vader's lightsaber ignited with a crimson hiss. And Emperor Palpatine, Dark Lord of the Sith, Master of the Galactic Empire, unleashed the full fury of the dark side. But in the golden light of a Saiyan warrior's pure heart, even the deepest darkness began to fade. The battle for the galaxy's soul had begun, and this time, the darkness would not win.
The throne room became a maelstrom of light and shadow. Palpatine's Force lightning intensified, no longer aimed at Goku, but at the very structure around them, bringing down chunks of ceiling, electrifying the floor, creating a storm of destruction meant to collapse the chamber itself. The Imperial guards opened fire, their blasters adding crimson streaks to the chaos, and Vader stood frozen, lightsaber raised but not striking, his mind caught between decades of servitude and a single moment of terrible clarity. Goku moved like light made flesh. He appeared beside each guard in turn, tapping their weapons with just enough force to shatter the barrels without harming the wielders. "Sorry," he called out over the chaos, "nothing personal." Then he was gone again, moving so fast he left golden after-images in his wake. Palpatine's yellow eyes widened as he realized the truth. This warrior wasn't just powerful, he was still holding back.
even now, in the midst of battle against the Empire's ultimate authority, Goku was pulling his punches, not out of fear, but out of an absurd, incomprehensible desire not to kill unnecessarily. "You fool!" Palpatine shrieked, unleashing a wave of pure dark side energy that would have atomized a normal being. "I offer you power, purpose, a place at my side to rule this galaxy, and you choose sentiment over strength?" The energy wave hit Goku and dispersed harmlessly around his aura. "I don't want to rule anyone," Goku replied, his voice calm despite the chaos. "And your kind of power, power built on fear and suffering, that's weakness pretending to be strong." He raised his hand, ki gathering in his palm, not the full force of a Kamehameha, but enough to make his point. "Last chance, Palpatine. Stand down. Let the galaxy go, or I end this here and now." For a heartbeat, the Emperor hesitated. His tactical mind calculated odds, assessed possibilities, recognized the unthinkable truth. He could not defeat this being, not through the Force, not through deception, perhaps not at all. In that moment of clarity, Palpatine understood that something from beyond his galaxy had arrived to challenge everything he had built. But surrender was not in his nature. Better to die as Emperor than live as nothing. "If I fall," Palpatine hissed, "the Empire falls. Warlords will tear the galaxy apart. Systems will burn. Everything I built, the order, the peace, it will all crumble to chaos and ruin. Is that what you want, warrior? To be responsible for the death of civilization itself?" "No," Goku said firmly, "but that's not on me. That's on you. You built a system that can't survive without you. You made yourself so essential that losing you means disaster. That's not leadership, that's hostage-taking on a galactic scale." His ki flared brighter. "And I'm not going to let the threat of chaos stop me from doing what's right. People will rebuild, they always do, but they'll rebuild something better this time. Something not built on fear." Before Palpatine could respond, Vader's voice cut through the chaos. "Master, he is right." Every head in the throne room turned toward the Dark Lord. Vader's lightsaber was lowered now, and though his mask revealed no expression, his posture spoke of a decision made after years of internal conflict. "What did you say?" Palpatine's voice was deadly quiet. "I said he is right," Vader repeated, each word carrying the weight of an avalanche. "I have served you for decades, committed atrocities in your name, destroyed everything I once loved because I believed you offered the only path to order. But this warrior from beyond the stars has shown me something I had forgotten, that power without compassion is merely tyranny, that order through fear is no order at all. You dare betray me." Palpatine's rage was incandescent. "I made you. Everything you are, every breath you take through that mask is because I saved you." "You didn't save me," Vader said with sudden terrible clarity. "I have been your weapon, your enforcer, your monster, but no more." He looked at Goku. "Warrior, finish this. I will not stop you." "Vader," Goku called out, "what's your real name before all this?"
The question pierced through decades of buried identity. Vader was silent for a long moment. Then, "Anakin. My name was Anakin Skywalker." "Okay, Anakin," Goku said with a genuine smile. "When this is over, I want to hear your story. the whole story, and maybe we can figure out together how to fix some of what's been broken." He turned back to Palpatine. "This is it, Emperor. Your apprentice just quit. Your guards are unarmed, and I'm not afraid of you. Give up." Palpatine's response was pure, undiluted hatred. Dark-side energy erupted from him in waves, the culmination of decades of Sith mastery. The very air screamed as reality bent under the weight of his power. It was the attack of someone who'd rather destroy everything than surrender control. Goku met it with a Kamehameha. The azure beam of ki energy tore through the dark side storm like sunlight through shadow. It wasn't about matching power levels or overwhelming force. Ki and the dark side operated on fundamentally different principles. Where Palpatine's power was fed by hate and sustained by suffering, Goku's was pure life energy tempered by discipline and compassion. They were incompatible on a cosmic level, and when they collided, there could only be one outcome. The Kamehameha punched through Palpatine's defenses and struck him directly. His robes smoldered, his yellow eyes dimmed, and for the first time in decades, Emperor Palpatine lay helpless before another being. Goku lowered his hands, powering down to base form. He walked slowly toward the fallen Sith Lord, his expression serious but not cruel. "It's over. You lost. But you don't have to die. I meant what I said. Surrender, and I'll make sure you're treated fairly. No execution, no revenge killings. We're just retirement. A chance to think about the choices you made, and maybe someday try to make amends." Palpatine coughed, dark blood staining his lips. His body was failing. The Kamehameha had done damage even his Sith vitality couldn't easily heal. But his eyes still burned with defiance. "You understand nothing of the galaxy's needs, of what I prevented by maintaining control." "Maybe," Goku acknowledged, "but I understand that people deserve the chance to choose their own future. And whatever happens next, whatever chaos or rebuilding or new conflicts come, at least it'll be their choice, not yours." Behind them, Vader, Anakin, watched as the master he'd served for decades lay broken. He felt the dark side's call weakening, felt something he thought dead stirring in his ruined heart. Hope. Terrifying, unfamiliar, but undeniably real. "What happens now?" Anakin asked quietly. "Now?" Goku turned to look at him. "Now, we let the galaxy decide. The rebels get their chance to build something new. The people who served the Empire get a chance to be something other than tools of tyranny. And you?" He smiled. "You get a chance to be Anakin Skywalker again, instead of Darth Vader. That is, if you want it." "I don't know if redemption is possible for what I've done," Anakin whispered. "It is," Goku said with absolute certainty. "I've seen worse people find redemption, but it's not easy, and it takes real work. You up for that?" Before Anakin could answer, alarms began shrieking throughout the Imperial palace. The throne room doors burst open, and Imperial officers flooded in, followed moments later by rebel forces who'd somehow breached the palace defenses in the chaos. Both sides froze when they saw the tableau, the Emperor fallen, Vader standing with his lightsaber lowered, and Goku at the center of it all. Commander Reston led the rebel contingent, his eyes widening as he took in the scene. What happened here? The Empire just lost its Emperor. He's alive but defeated, and Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, has chosen to stop serving the dark side. So here's what's going to happen. The rebels and any Imperial forces willing to lay down their weapons are going to work together to transition this galaxy to something better, something where people get to choose their leaders instead of being ruled by fear. "You can't." "Yeah, I can," Goku interrupted firmly. "Because right now, I'm the strongest person in this galaxy, and I'm choosing to use that strength to give everyone else a chance at freedom. Anyone who doesn't like it can take it up with me personally." His eyes hardened slightly. "And trust me, you don't want to do that." The officer wisely fell silent. Reston stepped forward carefully. "And the Emperor? What do we do with him?" "Medical treatment first, and then a trial if the rebels want one. But no executions, no revenge killings. We're going to prove that the new galaxy can be better than the old Empire. That means acting better, even toward enemies."
"You're asking us to show mercy to the being who destroyed Alderaan?" Reston said quietly. "To the monster who killed billions?" "I know," Goku acknowledged, "and I'm not saying it's fair or easy. But I've learned that cycles of revenge don't end until someone chooses to break them. So yeah, I'm asking, because if the new galaxy starts with more murder, it's just going to be the same as the old one, with different faces in charge." The rebels and Imperials looked at each other uncertainly. Years of conflict couldn't be undone in a moment. But something in Goku's absolute certainty, his refusal to accept that vengeance was inevitable, planted a seed of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, things could actually change. In the days that followed, the galaxy convulsed with upheaval. The Emperor's fall sent shockwaves through every system. Some Imperial commanders tried to maintain control, clinging to the old order. Others surrendered, exhausted by years of enforcing tyranny. The Rebel Alliance found itself suddenly in a position to actually govern rather than just resist. And through it all, Goku remained, not as a ruler or a judge, but as a reminder that change was possible. He traveled between systems, stopping warlords who tried to seize power, protecting civilians caught in the transition, and occasionally sitting down with both former Imperials and rebels to knock their heads together when negotiations broke down. Anakin Skywalker began the long, painful journey of atonement. With Goku's encouragement, he revealed his identity to the galaxy, confessed his crimes as Vader, and submitted to a truth and reconciliation process that would take years. Some called for his execution. Others argued for mercy. Anakin himself asked only for the chance to undo some small fraction of the harm he had caused. And slowly, impossibly, the galaxy began to heal. Goku never did find a way back to his own universe. The dimensional rift that brought him remained a mystery, and even the galaxy's greatest scientists couldn't replicate whatever cosmic accident had transported him across realities. But as months passed, he found himself caring less about returning home and more about protecting the fragile new peace taking root. One evening, standing on a balcony overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape, now lit with celebration rather than fear, Anakin found him watching the twin sunset. "You are thinking about your home," Anakin observed. "Yeah, I miss my family, my friends, my whole life is there. But I think I was meant to be here, at least for a while. This galaxy needed someone who wasn't part of its old conflicts, someone who could see things clearly without all the history weighing them down. The galaxy owes you a debt that can never be repaid," Anakin said quietly. "I don't want payment. I just want people to be safe and free to live their lives. That's always been enough for me." He paused. "What about you? Any regrets about leaving the dark side behind?" Anakin was quiet for a long moment. Every day. The dark side offered certainty, purpose, freedom from doubt, but it also offered emptiness. I spent decades as Vader feeling nothing but rage and pain. Now I feel everything: guilt, hope, grief, possibility. It's overwhelming, but it's real. It's human. That's good. Feeling things means you're alive, means you can still change and grow. That's all any of us can do.
keep trying to be better than we were yesterday. Across the galaxy, former enemies began cautiously building something new. It would take generations to fully heal the Empire's wounds. There would be setbacks, conflicts, moments when it seemed easier to return to the old ways. But the seed of change had been planted by a warrior from beyond the stars who believed with absolute conviction that people were worth fighting for. The Force, light and dark both, had been forever altered by the presence of key energy, a new kind of power that operated by different rules, offered different possibilities. Some Force sensitives began experimenting with Goku's techniques, learning to combine key manipulation with Force mastery in ways that created entirely new disciplines. And in the depths of space, reality occasionally shimmered, brief moments when the barrier between universes grew thin. Goku felt them like whispers from home, promises that someday, somehow, he might find his way back. But until that day came, he had work to do. A galaxy to protect, people to save, and maybe, just maybe, a few more tyrants to knock some sense into. Because that's what heroes did. Not because they sought glory or reward, but simply because it was right. The Golden Warrior from beyond the stars had given the galaxy something it had lost under the Empire's shadow: hope. And in a universe shaped by the Force, hope was the most powerful weapon of all. May the Force be with you, and may the key flow strong. The galaxy far, far away would never be the same. And for the first time in decades, that was a very good thing.
You're asking us to show mercy to the being who destroyed Alderaan, Reston said quietly, to the monster who killed billions. I know, Goku acknowledged, and I'm not saying it's fair or easy, but I've learned that cycles of revenge don't end until someone chooses to break them. So yeah, I'm asking, because if the new galaxy starts with more murder, it's just gonna be the same as the old one, with different faces in charge. The rebels and Imperials looked at each other uncertainly. Years of conflict couldn't be undone in a moment. But something in Goku's absolute certainty, his refusal to accept that vengeance was inevitable, planted a seed of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, things could actually change. In the days that followed, the galaxy convulsed with upheaval. The Emperor's fall sent shockwaves through every system. Some Imperial commanders tried to maintain control, clinging to the old order. Others surrendered, exhausted by years of enforcing tyranny. The Rebel Alliance found itself suddenly in a position to actually govern, rather than just resist. And through it all, Goku remained, not as a ruler or a judge, but as a reminder that change was possible. He traveled between systems, stopping warlords who tried to seize power, protecting civilians caught in the transition, and occasionally sitting down with both former Imperials and rebels to knock their heads together when negotiations broke down. Anakin Skywalker began the long, painful journey of atonement. With Goku's encouragement, he revealed his identity to the galaxy, confessed his crimes as Vader, and submitted to a truth and reconciliation process that would take years. Some called for his execution. Others argued for mercy. Anakin himself asked only for the chance to undo some small fraction of the harm he'd caused. And slowly, impossibly, the galaxy began to heal. Goku never did find a way back to his own universe. The dimensional rift that brought him remained a mystery, and even the galaxy's greatest scientists couldn't replicate whatever cosmic accident had transported him across realities. But as months passed, he found himself caring less about returning home and more about protecting the fragile new peace taking root.
One evening, standing on a balcony overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape, now lit with celebration rather than fear, Anakin found him watching the twin sunset. "You're thinking about your home," Anakin observed. "Yeah, I miss my family, my friends. My whole life is there. But I think I was meant to be here, at least for a while. This galaxy needed someone who wasn't part of its old conflicts, someone who could see things clearly without all the history weighing them down. The galaxy owes you a debt that can never be repaid," Anakin said quietly.
"I don't want payment," Goku replied. "I just want people to be safe and free to live their lives. That's always been enough for me." He paused. "What about you? Any regrets about leaving the dark side behind?" Anakin was quiet for a long moment. "Every day, the dark side offered certainty, purpose, freedom from doubt, but it also offered emptiness. I spent decades as Vader feeling nothing but rage and pain. Now I feel everything: guilt, hope, grief, possibility. It's overwhelming, but it's real. It's human." "That's good," Goku said. "Feeling things means you're alive, means you can still change and grow. That's all any of us can do. Keep trying to be better than we were yesterday." Across the galaxy, former enemies began cautiously building something new. It would take generations to fully heal the Empire's wounds. There would be setbacks, conflicts, moments when it seemed easier to return to the old ways. But the seed of change had been planted by a warrior from beyond the stars who believed, with absolute conviction, that people were worth fighting for. The Force, light and dark both, had been forever altered by the presence of Ki energy, a new kind of power that operated by different rules, offered different possibilities. Some Force sensitives began experimenting with Goku's techniques, learning to combine Ki manipulation with Force mastery in ways that created entirely new disciplines. And in the depths of space, reality occasionally shimmered, brief moments when the barrier between universes grew thin. Goku felt them like whispers from home, promises that someday, somehow, he might find his way back. But until that day came, he had work to do. A galaxy to protect, people to save, and maybe, just maybe, a few more tyrants to knock some sense into. Because that's what heroes did. Not because they sought glory or reward, but simply because it was right. The Golden Warrior from beyond the stars had given the galaxy something it had lost under the Empire's shadow: hope. And in a universe shaped by the Force, hope was the most powerful weapon of all. May the Force be with you, and may the Ki flow strong. The galaxy far, far away would never be the same. And for the first time in decades, that was a very good thing.